I'm Zeno Roman for the Surfcasters Journal. This is a quick tip of the week on flashlights. Obviously, if you're going to fish for striped bass, you're going to spend a lot of time at night on the beach. You need to have a flashlight. You need to have a good flashlight. I'm not going to go into if you want to use a white or red or green. It's to your personal preference. I kind of find it very hypocritical to give other people advice on what they should use. Whatever you feel safe at night is what you should use. That's the way I look at it. Some guys like to use the headlamps where they are hands-free when they unhook a fish, changing the lures. I like to use the stuff around my neck. It's just the way I fish. I usually have two of them. One is buried inside my clothing. The other one is actually operational. I use it in my mouth. I know some guys don't like it. Some guys do, some guys don't. It's really a personal preference. These are fairly easy to make. You can just get a piece of this nylon webbing, like elastic in the Joann stores or any fabric stores. You can also use, a lot of guys like to use surgical tubing to make this out of surgical tubing. This is an old way of doing it. You don't really see a lot of guys do this. I think I remember seeing this in Al Benson's book when I started fishing. But basically using a heavy gauge electric wire for your light. And what it does is, if you want to point your beam a certain place without having to have it in the mouth or in your head, all you got to do is bend this and it will stay. Either point it this way, point that way, or any way you want. So this is kind of an old way of doing things. I don't see a lot of guys using this, although this will take you about 10 seconds to make literally a piece of a heavy gauge electrical wire and a little bit of electrical tape. So that's the bunch of different ways guys use the lights. There's a really expensive lights out there, and there's really affordable lights. Personally, I like to buy new lights every year. For the most part, that are affordable and quality, something like a Pelican. I had this Pelican for many, many years. This is a Princeton light, which I also like. Whatever you buy, do not buy anything that's water resistant. Buy something that's waterproof, not water resistant. Water resistant surf fishing, those two things don't mix well. And the last thing I want to mention is that because you're going to be fishing at night, and the worst thing that you can do, to be put in a situation at night is to be without a light. When you're on a beach or close to your truck is one thing, but when you're on a wetsuit, on a rock, 100 yards from shore, to be out of the light, and it does happen, okay? I'm using two lights. So I have my secondary light, and then I have my primary light. All right, so I use my primary light, and if this dies, then I use my secondary light. Well, one night, my primary and my secondary light died while I was on a rock. It wasn't pretty. However, I have my, God forbid, light. Inside my bag here, this flashlight never comes out. If it comes out once a year, it's a miracle. But what I call is a God forbid light. If both of my lights go dead because they're either flooded or the battery died, I go to my God forbid light and I'm still good for the night, and I can still get off the rock and I can still unhook the fish. So just keep that stuff like that in mind when you plug in and when you're away from your truck. Be prepared. Have something solid that it's not going to fail on you, and make sure it's waterproof and not water resistant, and you'll be fine. You don't need to spend $300 on a light unless you want to, but do get something that quality that is solid and not $199 special at Home Depot. That usually doesn't last.